The Indiana Pacers have traded Domantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, and a 2027 second-round pick to the Indiana Pacers for Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. This is the one that just totally broke my brain. I looked at Twitter this morning. It's 8:22 a.m. here in Australia, and I thought someone had fucked up. I thought someone
they might have. They might have.
Yeah, I thought
you
this
thought
was
it was like a fake account, fake Twitter account. You're like, I fell for it again. That's a fake one.
Yeah, it's all a ruse. It's all fake Woj coming at us. This is staggering to me. I'll give you the floor before I jump up and down on all of this. But go ahead.
You're taken aback. I love Tyrese Haliburton. I was surprised. I thought the Kings would move a different guard, maybe De'Aaron Fox, and build around Tyrese Haliburton, who's shooting 48% from the field, 45% from three. It felt that the Kings nailed this draft pick, and after they haven't in the past, and I just, for just checking it out, I've looked up the last 5-6 drafts of who they have and who they missed, and 2013, Ben McLemore, 7th. 2014, Nick Stauskas, 8th. 2015, Willie Cauley-Stein, 6th. 2016, Marquise Chris, 8th. They feel like they got it fairly right with De'Aaron Fox, 5th in 2017.
Oh, you missed another one there with Marquise Chris.
No, Marquise Chris, 2016. He went 8th. We said swipe.
No, but there's another one in there.
Oh,
that's our king, Yorios Papagiannis, baby.
Yeah, sure.
Number 13. That's a lottery pick.
That's true. I'm trying to hit on the hits. Bagley was a miss, and Haliburton at 12 seemed like an actual hit, right? We got it right. Even this year, Davion Mitchell. We're both Davion Mitchell fans, but we're like, that's a crowded backcourt. I didn't see this. I don't know how this works. Haliburton is a guy that we've raved about, that archetype lately of this big, passing, connecting, seamless guy that can play anywhere. He's actually shooting the ball. Any of the questions coming out of college are erased, and he is traded. I like Sabonis. I do. I think I just value Tyrese Haliburton so much higher. When that tweet came out that he was gone, it was kind of like I was back on the end of the bench losing a buzzer beater. I just put my hands in my head and I just said, I don't know what's happening here. This can't be a real thing.
Yeah, so I don't want to give short shrift to Domantas Sabonis, who's
correct. Yes.
And before we dive into undoubtedly why I wouldn't have done this move if I was the Kings, I want to pay attention to why Domantas Sabonis is probably someone that the Kings valued and decided they wanted to acquire. Sabonis is one of the best offensive centers in the NBA. He averages essentially 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, something like that. He's exceptional in dribble handoffs. His feel for the game is outstanding. He's kind of like a bull in the china shop in the paint. He is incredible in terms of being able to use his shoulders, use his footwork to be able to carve out just that little inch of space that he needs to finish at the basket. His dribble handoff game, I think, is really going to mesh well with De'Aaron Fox. If there's any look, the Kings have an interim coach right now, and Alvin Gentry. Alvin Gentry is a really fucking smart offensive mind. I think Alvin Gentry is going to be able to figure out how to utilize De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis well together. And the way to do it is you start the ball with Davion Mitchell in his hands. You put De'Aaron Fox on the right side of the court. You run essentially like a dribble handoff action. You put the ball in Sabonis's hands. You have Mitchell go screen to the right side of the court, have Fox come up and fly up to get him on the move. And then you run all sorts of crazy dribble handoff action with Fox where he's on the move already, and you can let Sabonis make some decisions and dribble handoffs. I think there's actually a lot there that will work for Sacramento.
Yep.
And ultimately, a big part of why Sacramento has not been very good this year. They're sitting at 20-35, and they're 13th in the West and don't look all that competitive. But a big part of why that's the case is because De'Aaron Fox has not been very good. I thought he was going to take a leap into all-star territory this year. That hasn't happened. And acquiring Domantas Sabonis is hopefully something that will actualize what De'Aaron Fox can be.
However,
I can't wrap my brain around trading essentially 7 or 8 years of Tyrese Haliburton, which is what you would have had at this point, who has been your best player this year. You look since December 1st, Tyrese Haliburton's been averaging 16 to 17 points, 9 assists. He has been at 1.6 steals per game, 4 rebounds. He has a near 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. He's shooting 43% from 3, and he's doing it on a lot of pull-up attempts that, you know, we can talk about what the evaluation of Tyrese Haliburton was coming into the NBA. That was the question. Like, could he consistently knock down the pull-up jumper? And whether or not that was the case was going to be whether or not he could turn into, you know, something of an all-star point guard.
Right.
That skill is here. It is translated. It is everything that you could want from him. He is a 21-year-old that is essentially a 16-9-4 point guard who is efficient, who is a really smart team defender, who is continually getting stronger, because like that was another question. Like, could he get strong enough? He was about 175 pounds entering the NBA. He's now up to like 185 or so, and he looks bigger, looks bulkier on the court, can hold his own a lot better. That's going to just continue to improve. I see no reason to think that Tyrese Haliburton isn't going to be an all-star based off of everything that we've seen from the Kings this year. Every sign has been, I am breaking out. I am a breakout player. This is happening for
Build
Tyrese
around
Haliburton.
me. I fit in any offense you want.
Build around me. I am a scalable player. I can shoot. I can pass. I play great team defense. Like, even if you're going to get a star player to put next to Tyrese Haliburton, he fits next to all of them. He fits next to whatever you want to build. That is part of his value. It's part of why the Kings probably loved him. And they moved him. And I understand it because they have been so attached to De'Aaron Fox since selecting him. And I would bet you that the way that they looked at this was the best way for us to actualize the next few years is by cashing in on Tyrese Haliburton and not cashing in on De'Aaron Fox at the nadir of essentially what his value would be, because that's what he would be at right now. Like, he would be at a low point in terms of value, given the long-term nature of his contract, given his play this year. I bet that they're thinking we can rehabilitate De'Aaron Fox's, NBA play this year. He's going to be great next to Domantas Sabonis, and we're going to make it work. I think that is the wrong choice. I would have built around Tyrese Haliburton, who is one of the best, most exciting young guards in the NBA right now. If you ask any Kings fan at this point, I think that they would tell you they were more excited about Tyrese Haliburton than De'Aaron Fox. It just kind of blew me away. It's one of those things that, like, in the macro, I can't really even fathom. In some respect, making the decision to pick Haliburton over Fox, essentially.
And, well, maybe you had to, like you said, just based on trade value or whatnot. And I'm always drafty. I'm always bringing back the draft. We do it all over again. He probably goes fourth, right? Somewhere like LaMelo and Edwards, Desmond Bane, him, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and I think you go ahead of Bane. Sure. I love Desmond.
Like, okay, so he's third or fourth, right? My point being that LaMelo's an all-star, Anthony Edwards is close. I think Desmond Bane is going to be awesome there as a number 2. Could they have gotten more for Tyrese Haliburton? We're laughing, we're joking, saying teams didn't even know. If it was known that he was on the trading block, could they have got more in return than Domantas Sabonis? And people might be going nuts saying he's an all-star. He's already 20 and 12. What are you talking about? But could have been packaged together with more picks, more assets, 2 of those type of guys, if people around the league feel as strongly and passionately about his game where it is now and where it's going to go as you and I do talking on here. Did they sell themselves
Yes,
short? It's like, if this is the guy, right? And we're saying that, could they have actually gotten more in return too?
So I think the answer is yes. And part of that is that I am not a big fan of Domantas Sabonis as a number 1 or number 2 option. I would have loved it if the Warriors would have been like, hey, we think Domantas Sabonis would be an unbelievable fit in our motion offense next to Draymond Green, next to Klay Thompson, next to Stephen Curry. That's what we're cashing in our chips for. Like moving James Wiseman and Moses Moody, keeping Jonathan Kuminga. We're going to get Sabonis. That's how we're going to beat teams. We're going to be big. We're going to have a great center. If anyone would have watched the Warriors, I can't remember, it was last night or 2 nights ago. Everything is very fuzzy at this point from the last 36 hours, but
was
they just
last
got obliterated on the glass.
Yeah. Was that the Kuminga Moody game, or was that the game before?
Oh God.
One of those games. They get beat in the glass. And
stop making me remember things.
and Wiseman's coming back. I also don't want to say like he's going to get up to full strength. You're going to throw him in the mix immediately and say, hey, you're paying 25 minutes a game and we're chasing a championship right now. I'd rather take a more seasoned veteran who's used to it, where it's not going to be this enormous adjustment that doesn't have to be worked along slowly too to get there.
Yeah. So like if it was me and I was the Warriors, like that's an interesting move for me. I love the idea of Domantas Sabonis there. I don't love the idea of Domantas Sabonis in a situation in Sacramento where he doesn't now really have the defensive insulation that he needs in order to be successful on that end.
Right.
Teams are going to obliterate De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis pick and rolls. They're just going to absolutely obliterate them. Neither of those two are good enough in space. And now, instead of having Miles Turner coming over from the weak side, who's one of the 10 best defenders in the NBA, you don't really have anyone. Because, like, I'll be honest, like, Rashawn Holmes isn't that defender, but also, like, you kind of can't keep Rashawn Holmes on this roster, I don't think, because part of what makes Rashawn Holmes so good is that he's an unbelievable pick and roll big who's incredibly efficient, finishes at 68%. And on top of that, he loves to short roll and, take that little like push shot floater thing.
Well, on top of that too, he was great in the 2-man game with Tyrese Haliburton. That was like his partner in crime for that stretch where Haliburton was averaging double-digit assists for like 5 or 6 games in a row.
Right. So just the idea of what makes Rashawn Holmes so good, it doesn't really work next to Sabonis, who loves that mid-post area where Rashawn Holmes tends to roll into and who, tends to like end up in the range of like that, short roll area and dribble handoffs, right? Yep. Like it's just not really going to work. Sorry, I got a text message like right in the middle of that.
There you are. The Haliburton trade is not real.
Yeah. Literally about the Haliburton trade from like an NBA person. I'm trying to figure out like what they're doing.
It's 8 a.m. Leave me alone. I'm recording. I'm writing an article. I'm doing my best. I'm processing. This is taking me a little bit longer than I'd like it to.
So in terms of long-term planning, you've given up 7 to 8 years of Tyrese Haliburton to pick up a player that I think minimizes your ceiling in Domantas Sabonis, because I don't think he's good enough defensively. He's a great offensive player, but I don't think he's good enough on defense without incredible insulation to where it's really, truly going to work on that end. And Justin Holiday is a good defender. He's not a great defender. Harrison Barnes is a good defender. He's not a great defender at this point. Like, Davion Mitchell's a great defender, but if I'm an opposing team, I'm just keeping Davion Mitchell out of every screening action that I can.
Going under.
And you mentioned the idea of Davion Mitchell, and getting back to the point that I want to make here, I guess maybe to close before I'll give you another point before we move on. But like taking Davion Mitchell in last year's draft seemed bonkers at the time for the Kings, given that they already had De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton.
And Buddy Hield.
Because look, I'm not saying that. I think that they probably have a lot of pressure to make the playoffs in Sacramento. Vivek is a hands-on owner, and a rookie probably wouldn't have like made the difference between them going from 20 and 35 to, whatever they would need, 25 and, 30 or whatever. But I do think that having Davion Mitchell on this roster gives you a comfort level to trade Tyrese Haliburton that maybe you shouldn't. And for whatever reason, I don't know why this is, but in my brain, I have that image of, you ever seen Walk Hard with Dewey Cox?
Yep.
I keep having the image of the dad saying, "Wrong kid, dad." And it's just like, wrong point guard traded.
Well, it's like, see multiple cars in the garage. Like, I'm gonna drive this one today. It's like, don't drive that one. Sell the other one. Drive the closing point I have with the Kings, and then we at least have to praise Indiana for doing this, I think. Right.
Yeah.
So the Kings are 20 and 35. They're 13th in the West. If they don't make the playoffs and this thing goes south and they have a top 3 pick, the top 3 picks are dominated by more bigs. So it's going to be even more crowded if you have Sabonis, you don't move Rashawn Holmes, and then what? You're not going to pick Chet Holmgren or Jabari Smith? You're going to try to trade down, take one of those guys and trade somebody else?
Well, here is what I will say. Chet Holmgren is kind of an incredible fit with Domantas. Like, he's the one that could make this work. If they completely flail the rest of the way, all right. He's the one where it's
some silver lining. If they got to draft him, though, right? If they have that pick, don't go bonkers when you have that pick and take the not safer play, but safer for their fit.
Yeah, no, I'm blown away by this. I
think you did pretty well for how blown away you were. You actually contextualized it a little bit.
Yeah. So in the case of Indiana, you're right. We should talk about Indiana. I am such a fan. I mean, the Pacers. 2 of my favorite prospects in the last 2 drafts were Tyrese Haliburton and Chris Duarte. So now they're together, and that makes me happy.
It's great. It's Sam's fantasy team, but they're also they're also 13th, which is interesting because then in the West, Sacramento's 13th, and I thought the same with Duarte too. And this started with the Karis LeVert trade a little bit. Is that is this some sort of statement of belief in Chris Duarte / is this where the value of actually drafting older makes sense? He's 24, but maybe him producing and being 24 helped you move LeVert. And ironically, you acquired picks to get younger. So right now they have somewhere between the 5th and 8th pick. They got 22 and 32. So now you can take those guys, the end of the first round, early second, and pre-draft and stash away guys. And if everybody gets healthy, your core can be Malcolm Brogdon, Tyrese Haliburton, Chris Duarte, Miles Turner, all the draft picks. That's not a bad build for the future, for my view anyway, for the Pacers.
Yeah, and they have Malcolm Brogdon still.
As long as he gets healthy, right?
Really good player that, if he stays healthy, will be really valuable. If I was them, I would probably move Brogdon this summer. They can't move him at the deadline because of the fact that they gave him an extension. But if I was them, I'd probably move him this summer for an athletic guard. I would want someone that can really truly break down a defense next to Tyrese Haliburton and Chris Duarte, because Halliburton's really improved there. And I think that, that ultimately is now the skill. Now that he has the pull-up jumper down, him being able to really truly break down defenders is going to be the thing that tells the tale of his ceiling. How much pressure can he consistently put on the rim? Hasn't been a lot yet. But, I think the Pacers need someone that can regularly do that. And Chris Duarte is not really that guy either. So if I was the Pacers, that's what I would look to do. Acquire a really good guard who can pressure the basket at a high level and look to improve that way. I'm not saying it'll be this guy, but someone in the vein of a Jalen Suggs, someone who fits their timeline that is just a super downhill creator who defends at a high level, on the ball particularly, and is just really aggressive is what I would look for. Well, it won't be Jalen Suggs because Orlando's going to keep him, but someone maybe, like that.
But maybe that's also without the trade. Say the Brogdon thing doesn't work, you get somebody else. Kind of what we have in the draft, and Jaden Ivey, you have that 4th, 5th-ish type pick. That's a possibility too. Not a long commute for him to go to Purdue down to Indiana to play for the Pacers. I'm not trying to get too far down the line, but those are probably some of the possibilities they thought about and getting younger and looking at the freshman class and let's just stash and let these guys develop over time. We're not going to win this year, but build around Tyrese Haliburton, built around maybe Chris Duarte and the other pieces they already have.
Yeah, if I was them, I would pretty aggressively pursue Jaden Ivey in this year's draft. I think that's the exact guy that they need to make this work. But we'll see. No, I think that the Pacers are off to a very strong start in their rebuild. They have a lot of really smart guys that are really scalable players, which will allow them to hopefully get the star here moving forward. It's almost like a Raptorsian rebuild where they got the guys that fit around the star, and now the Raptors trying to find the star. And it might be Scotty Barnes. You know, it might be this version of Pascal Siakam that's been incredible since he has returned from his like year and a half where he wasn't awesome. But by keeping OG Anunoby, and I mean, Fred VanVleet has turned into something different, but he was a guy that like had a really high floor, like some of the guys we're talking about, like Chris Duarte and Tyrese Haliburton, right? Yeah. But by keeping some of the guys that they kept around, Gary Trent Jr., signing him to his extension, they've set themselves up really well to have the pieces in place that once they get the star, develop the star, they're going to be able to make a leap up the East. And we're seeing that literally right now with what's going on. So, okay.